And then, if you're happy, Nancy, I'm going to kick off with a little introduction.
Great.
Great. So, welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's great to see so many of you here today. Welcome to the first peer learning session of 2026. And as you'll all know by now, the idea of these peer learning sessions are designed to provide a space for our members to give an overview of your program's design, curriculum, lessons, challenges. You can use them as a space to learn. You can use them as a space to share. You can use them as a space to bounce ideas. They're really however you would like to use them. And if you would like to host one on any aspect of your work, please do reach out to me. I have a few more to announce over the coming months. So we've got quite a good program. And yes, please do use them. And yeah, please do offer sessions. We're building a library of these so that our members can get to know each other. So this session is being recorded for those who are unable to attend. So if you ask a question, you will be featured on that recording. If you don't want to be in the recording, please drop questions into the chat. And please do use the chat function to ask questions or add comments at any time. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions during the Q&A. But if I can ask everyone, if you can stay on mute while Nancy is doing her presentation, that will be very helpful for the recording and for everyone's overall enjoyment. So I'm actually going to stop talking and I'm going to hand over to Nancy Gelman, who's going to tell us her lessons from the mentor model. Over to you, Nancy.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy Gelman, and I used to work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I left in April, and I am starting a new initiative called LEAP, Leadership for Africa's Parks, that I'll tell you about because it fits in well with the presentation that I'm sharing with you today on the mentor model. So my presentation is called 9 Fellowship Programs, 1 Playbook. And what I'm sharing with you is just my views, not the views of Fish and Wildlife Service. So moving forward, oops, there we go. So I've been working on international wildlife conservation for more than 30 years. And I've always focused on protected and conserved areas. I've always focused on training, doing research on training, especially on the job training for protected area personnel. I've run a number of mentoring programs. I've run scholarships, fellowship programs. I've always worked with wildlife colleges and universities, starting with, I was with WWF's Asia Pacific program like 30 years ago, and worked with colleges and universities in Asia. I did my master's degree with Cartier in Costa Rica, and then have worked with many African wildlife colleges and universities, as well as universities here in the US and UK. I love collaboration. I worked for the Africa Biodiversity Collaborative Group. I was the first program manager. And interestingly, before working for Fish and Wildlife, I was the very first through the Africa Biodiversity Collaborative Group and with MOACA, the College of African Wildlife Management, we were the very first grantees of U.S. Fish and Wildlife's Africa branch's mentor program. So I started as a grantee and then was hired to work on mentor. So I've been working on mentor for 18 years. We have a super active network, and the mentor fellows are amazing. They're wonderful. And so I'm excited to tell you about them. So who here has heard of the mentor program? I don't know if you could do thumbs up or raise your hands. I'm sorry, it's blurry, but anybody? I'm not seeing any thumbs up or anything. No, okay. Well, for some of you, this will be new, and I'm very, very excited to share. So Mentor develops conservation leaders, and some of you know Aristide Kamla from the African Marine Conservation Organization, and he's from Cameroon. And then this is Carla Louise Mosse, who works for ANPN Parks Gabon, and she works on CITES. She's one of their leads on CITES. And so the idea of Mentor is to develop conservation leaders. And Fish and Wildlife, based on experiences in Latin America and Asia, really felt that there was a need for the Africa program to focus on innovative emerging leaders and to make sure that they had diverse skill sets, that they knew how to problem solve, and that they were prepared to deal with different threats to wildlife. But when figuring out how to do it, really felt that emerging leaders need mentors to help them to problem solve and to help them with their long-term career development. And mentoring programs alone are not enough. We all want that master's degree, that postgraduate diploma, a certificate, something to show that we've put in 18 months of learning. So that academic accreditation is really, really important. And along the way, we learned the importance of leadership training and team training as part of the mentor curriculum. And the need to learn to work as a transdisciplinary team. When you have a lawyer on your team, when you have an anthropologist on your team, as a wildlife biologist, you really learn to work in a different way. And we strongly believe that that fosters innovation. You also need to know how to plan projects, you need to know how to fundraise projects, and you need to implement projects, and you have to ensure that there are results-based conservation outcomes. So with all this in mind, we developed the mentor model. Mentor builds small transdisciplinary teams of 8 to 10 fellows who learn to work together to problem solve on specific threats to wildlife, and it's done over an 18-month period. These are our mentor Bushmeat fellows during COVID, as you can tell. And as part of the program, they earn master's degrees or a postgraduate diploma or a certificate, depending on which program we're doing. But these are through accredited national universities or regional wildlife colleges. And the programs are academic, field-based, and it's about leadership training. So they're taught to apply leadership skills, learn human dimension, learn communications, project planning, leadership skills and they take usually during 4 to 6 months, especially designed curriculum. And they spend 8 to 12 months implementing team pilot projects that they've designed. So Mentor has been an adaptive series. It was always meant that we would start with one and we would think about what lessons were learned, and then we'd apply it to the next one. So it's been a series. We have 80 fellows from 9 different programs from 14 different countries. The first program was Mentor Being, Bushmeat Free Eastern Africa Network. The next was Mentor Forest, then Mentor Pace, Protecting Apes, Conserving Ecosystems, Mentor Manatee, Mentor Pop, Progress on Pangolins, Mentor Fish, Mentor Bushmeat, this time Bushmeat in Central Africa, Mentor Bat, and Mentor Conservator. So since 2008, we've run these 9 different fellowship programs together with grantees who are from NGOs, together with African wildlife colleges and universities. And the program over the 18 years has cost about $5,134,000. It's actually a little bit more than that, but so each program has been totally different. Some are 160,000, others are $1 million. It's totally, some have been master's degrees, and the program has totally changed depending on what species, what region. So this shows you the different African countries represented in the mentor programs and what years. And this is all available in the mentor booklet, which is online. And Shelley, I think you had sent this out to everybody as well. And then what was really fun before I left Fish and Wildlife was I was no longer, well, I was still working on 2 mentor programs, Mentor Bat and Mentor Conservator, but a number of my colleagues liked the mentor model, and they were starting to create mentor programs themselves. So years ago, I worked with a college in the Central America program on a mentor-like program on tapirs. And then there were two USAID funded mentor programs that unfortunately the funding was cut. So one was on the illegal reptile trade in Kenya, Mentor Halt, holistically addressing wildlife trafficking. It was just getting ready to go. And then the the US government funding ended, stopped. And then also one on ape health, working on grade 8 veterinarians and having them form a team. So anyway, so what is the mentor model? As I've mentioned before, mentor is about developing conservation leaders, and it begins with co-design. So what Fish and Wildlife would do is put out a notice of funding opportunity, sometimes for something very specific that we felt was a gap that needed to be addressed. Other times it was just an open call. People were getting to know the mentor model, and so they would just submit. We even got in a proposal for the Great Ape program. And we're like, oh, this looks like a mentor. So we went back to, that's how Mentor Peace came about. It's like we went back to Anjala University and said, oh, would you be interested in making this a mentor program? So the mentor program was always very flexible, always very opportunistic in looking for funding, but we really liked the model. And so just kept repeating it, trying to find the lessons. So mentor always starts with co-design. And actually 6 months are spent on co-design with the grantee, the NGO, and the university partner who's working on the mentor program. And the co-design involves everything. It's deciding what countries are going to be part of the mentor program. What are the criteria for the mentors? Are we going to have technical mentors? Are we going to have capacity mentors? Are we going to have country mentors? The selection for the fellows. Do we need lawyers? Do we need anthropologists? Like, who should be part of this transdisciplinary team? So 6 months, a lot of time is really spent on that co-design process. And that makes each mentor very, very different depending on the regions. Sometimes mentors were full-time. The mentor fellowships, the fellowship was full-time. Sometimes it was part-time. Sometimes it was just getting them together for like month-long sessions. The last one, Mentor Bat, was virtual. So totally different through the co-design process. Then we initiate. So that's 6 months before the mentor program actually starts, before the 18 months start. Then we initiate the mentoring partnerships. We've developed as part of the co-design, developed the curricula together with universities that we're working with, deciding, should this be a master's degree program? Should this be a postgraduate? Or we did a number of certificate programs as well. And then the mentor model always included a month of learning adaptive management, the conservation standards, where the fellows learn how to design projects. They learn how to write proposals and have them reviewed. So they develop fundraising skills. And then they spend 12 months actually implementing the projects. So this is the mentor model. It's co-design, it's mentoring, it's accredited postgraduate training, and then it's project learning how to design projects, learning how to implement. And that's always done through a 2-year period. So what does a successful mentor program need? Partnerships. It's the partners who are on the ground who are actually doing this. And we've been really lucky to work with many amazing African universities and wildlife colleges and amazing NGO partners. And what are the lessons that we've learned from the mentor model? So for me, I've been spending a lot of time over the last year really thinking about those lessons and knowing that I wanted to share the mentor model much more. And so for me personally, I believe that selection is everything. And to select people, you need to have the criteria in place. And for me, that most important criteria is what I call OLO, which is open to learning and opportunities. And everyone who's part of Mentor has to be OLO. The partners have to be OLO. The fellows have to be OLO. The mentors have to be OLO. There is also NOLO and SOLO, but I'll tell you about that at a later time. So what is mentoring? We talk a lot about mentoring. We define mentoring as a learning partnership. And mentors work with fellows on problem solving, but work on long-term career development. It's not just the 18 months of the mentor program. It's making a commitment to be there for them throughout their career. And in the yellow shirt is Francis Tarla. Francis was the manager of both Mentor Pop, Progress on Pangolins, Mentor Bushmeat, and he even went to Cameroon to help out our Mentor Bat Fellows. These are our Mentor Bat Fellows. Together in the middle is the late Michel Babelet, who was the director of Garoa Wildlife College. He passed away this summer, but he provided certificates for many of our mentor programs, and we will do all we can to keep his memory alive. He was a great mentor. So mentoring, you often hear about the 5 C's of mentoring, developing competence, developing confidence, helping them with connections, supporting their character, and being compassionate. And I always feel that my job as a mentor is to always tell the fellows how proud I am of them. So I send texts every day. WhatsApp, I'm so proud of you. You're doing great work. Like that's, we have to be there to support everyone. So that's really important for mentoring. And what is a transdisciplinary team? So when I talk about a transdisciplinary team, I'm talking about potentially people from different countries, different cultures, some from cities, some from villages, some from towns. We're talking about lawyers. This is a postgraduate program. So lawyers, public administrators, urban planners, wildlife biologists, tourism specialists. We want a lot of diversity because learning to work with people in different disciplines, lawyers speak different languages than wildlife biologists. So being part of a team, you learn to speak each other's languages. And it's really, really important to learn how to work as part of a team. And so, as I mentioned before, these transdisciplinary teams through the mentor programs learn to problem solve. So the first mentor program was on bushmeat in Eastern Africa. And this was back in 2008, 2009. Not a lot of work was being done on the impact of bushmeat trade on species and populations. So that was the first mentor program with the Africa Biodiversity Collaborative Group and the College of African Wildlife Management, Boyka, Tanzania. That was a postgraduate diploma. The second one was on environmental impact assessments in Gabon and Republic of Congo, coming up with best practice guidelines for extractive industries. 5 kilometers around national parks in Gabon, there could be extractive industries. At the time of the Mentor Forest program, nobody knew were environmental impacts being done, how to evaluate environmental impact assessments. So that's what the mentor team focused on. The third mentor program, Mentor Chimp, was in Sierra Leone and Liberia, and it focused on the chimp trade, chimp bushmeat, and habitat destruction in West Africa. Then Mentor Manatee was a totally different mentor model. It was bringing together people in Central Africa who were currently in PhD or master's programs, and they would go to each other's field sites for a month. They'd all collect the same data on manatee bushmeat, and they'd all implement the same awareness activities. And then they wrote a lot of papers, did a lot of work on manatee research. Mentor Pop, Progress on Pangolins. We knew that pangolins were the most trafficked wild mammal on the planet, but we were like, who's on the ground working on pangolins? We knew Martin Haga from WCS Gabon, but we knew we needed a team to work on population assessments, pangolin trafficking, pangolin bushmeat. Mentor Fish with the Nature Conservancy. The government of Gabon was creating a new freshwater fisheries agency, but they didn't have staff. And so Mentor Fish really helped develop staff from that agency and other agencies to work on community fisheries management plans, develop fish collections, and do a manual on sustainable fisheries. And that one was only in Gabon. The one on bushmeat, Mentor Bushmeat in Central Africa, focused on bushmeat behavior change. doing pangolin and monkey bushmeat assessments. That one was really interesting because the way the fellows were selected was by organizations working on bushmeat. So they would have lead bushmeat people working for them long term. Mentor Bat was totally different. The money for that was from the American Rescue Plan Act. Fish and Wildlife Service was told work on disease spillover, stopping disease spillover. And we were like, bats. We need to work on bats. We need to get people to understand the need to conserve habitat and to prevent that spillover. And then because the money was from the American Rescue Plan Act, we felt that it had to be more of an international program. So we had fellows from Cameroon, from Colombia, and Indonesia. And where other mentor programs were in person full-time or part-time, this was virtual, but we brought them together in the beginning to focus on team building. We brought them together again. That one was in Colombia. We brought them together again in Indonesia to work on the conservation standards. How do you plan projects? But all along made it really clear they were all a team with different national cohorts. And then the last one, which the fellows will be getting their master's degree in February, is with WCS in Gabon. Gabon has a new, relatively young Parks Gabon ANPN protected area system, and so they need more protected area managers. So that's also a new master's degree. So we've done masters, we've done certificates, everything depending on what species, what region, what the needs are, and to be honest, what the budget was. What you can do for $160,000 versus $1 million is very, very different. And then women have been important all along through the mentor program. And we've been very conscious of when we don't have a lot of women as fellows, we've always had a lot of women as mentors, as lecturers who come in. I didn't mention that with the curricula, many different guest lecturers are invited to come in and speak. And so different NGO partners, local partners, international partners have been really wonderful about sharing their expertise with the mentor fellows. So we've made sure that there are a lot of women lecturers, as well as trying to grow the number of female fellows. So our first mentor fellow only had one woman, Loeli Damalu, here in the red with the pearls. And she was like, the mentor program was great, but we needed more female fellows. She made that really clear. And so with the other programs, really tried to have more and more women as fellows. And then in Mentor Bat, out of a team of 7, we actually have 9 female fellows. So we have been really working on that. And we have a special female women's network, mentor women's network, to share things specifically for women, to discuss the challenges that women face in protected areas and wildlife conservation and how to be successful. So is mentor an effective model? As you hear from me, as I will tell you, I love mentor. Mentor model is great because you can change it all the time. Our mentor fellows are amazing. I love the mentor model. And my colleagues are like, that's great, Nancy, but that's not enough. And so at the time, we were doing a lot of third-party evaluations, and so decided to do a third-party evaluation of the mentor program. And so this was done by faculty across different departments at Njala University with Sheila O'Connor, who many folks know, and Anne Natungo from the Conservation Coaches Network for Central Africa. And I wanted to share this with you because, you know, with capacity development, how are we measuring? How are we looking at effectiveness? And so I thought it was a really, really interesting approach. The evaluation was looking at strategic relevance and design. It was looking at sustainability. Oops, I'm sorry. But the way that it was done was also really interesting. The faculty from Njala University in Sierra Leone went to Cameroon, went to Kenya, traveled to the different places, held in-person interviews. They also did calls. They had focus groups bringing the fellows together to talk about mentor, did an online survey, And then what we wanted to do was have a control group to look at people who had applied for the mentor program or people in similar careers and compare them to the mentor fellows. And we also did key informant interviews. And so this was published in, I know a lot of you also have papers in the September 2022 issue of Oryx on capacity for conservation. But this is a paper that was led by Ibrahim Abu Bakr from Njala University, going through the mentor evaluation. And one really important lesson that I learned is always write a paper like this with the lead professor of statistics so, at a university, because it really helped. The statistics were difficult. So please, if you haven't seen it, I think Shelley had sent that around, but that is available. And I think it was an interesting approach, trying to have a control group, really having somebody from the anthropology department of Njala University, somebody from environmental policy, all of them working on evaluating 5 different mentor programs that had been completed. And then the most important lesson from the paper that came out of the evaluation was how much the fellows appreciated being taught leadership skills, developing a network. I really thought they would emphasize the technical skills because many of them didn't know anything about pangolins in Central Africa before they started their mentor program, or maybe didn't know about the bushmeat that they were working on. And so, but what really came out was leadership and networks. And so that's why I really wanted to talk with CLTN, because I think that it's important to learn from different programs and look at different models. So as I mentioned before, we've had 9 different mentor programs, but it's always been that same playbook. It's always been that same model. And now I get to tell you how amazing our fellows are. So our fellows are amazing. They're wonderful. They're great. And they engage in transformational work. And they've really been advancing wildlife conservation in their home countries and internationally. And this was just at the recent CITES meeting. And this is Carla Louise Mosse, who I showed a picture of earlier. She's on the ANPN Parks Gabon delegation for CITES. And this is Constant, who is in our Mentor Manatee program, and he works for CITES Mike, monitoring of illegal killing of elephants. And so they shared photos. They also sent me lots of photos of them with the US delegation, which was nice. And something else that the fellows did, because we're so focused on species, is use species days to try to get policy action. So these are our Mentor Progress on Pangolin Fellows, and they participated in the 2017 CITES meeting, where all 8 species of pangolin were uplisted. And they also worked a lot with the government of Cameroon. And so Cameroon actually did the very first pangolin scale burn in the world to raise awareness about trafficking of pangolins. And then they also worked nationally to get make sure that all 3 species of pangolin that were found in Cameroon were uplisted. They had been on Appendix C, which meant you could hunt them. Now they're, I'm sorry, on Class C in the Cameroonian law. Now they're Class A. They're totally protected. So it had been the giant ground pangolin was protected. They helped to get the white-bellied and the black-bellied pangolins protected. So using species days for policy can be very, very powerful. And all of our mentor programs have done that. And our fellows are in leadership roles. One of our very first fellows from the first mentor program in 2008, 2009, Mentor Bean. This is Vincent Opiene, and he's a high court judge in Uganda. He had been a prosecutor. Yeah, I kept saying lawyers are really important in the mentor program. And now to have him be a judge, and there's actually a wildlife court in Uganda, but Vincent has done a lot on wildlife law in Uganda. We're super proud of him. And then many of you might know Alex Ebang from NADA in Gabon. This is him at the World Conservation Congress. He leads a community-based NGO in Gabon. He's just amazing. So super proud of him. And here's Carla again talking about international impact. Many of our fellows are directors of national parks or work for UNESCO World Heritage. So it's really, really nice to see them on the ground using their leadership skills. Jerry and B. Krinsky in the purple is an anthropologist. And when he starts in a new park, he always goes and meets with the communities first before even starting in the park. So very exciting to have these different people in leadership roles. And then, as I've mentioned before, fellows have achieved a lot of conservation outcomes. Sometimes they were planned, sometimes they adapted along the way, and it's just been amazing to see them filling technical gaps, coming up with new methods and testing them, making a difference on policy. And for me, what's really important is that they self-identify as species conservation champions and as mentor fellows. So we had a mentor forum on conservation leadership in Sierra Leone in 2020. Brought them together. You can see by the color of the shirts which mentor program they were in. We were hoping to do another one before the funding got cut. So anyway, I hope in the future finding ways when I win the lottery to bring everybody together again. And many of our fellows, as you could hear, are senior, so they can share, their career journey with the fellows. We have a super active WhatsApp group. I feel that it's my personal duty to send three text messages on WhatsApp a day. Do you know about this opportunity? Do you know about this workshop? Do you know about this? So, and they all do. It's super active. Or I'm working on human wildlife conflict. Who else is doing that? So we do webinars on special topics like managing corruption, real issues that the fellows are working on. We have a lot of expertise, a lot of sharing. And one thing, another thing that I think has been very successful with the mentor program is developing a culture. So really having them know they're part of this team. They design their own logo. I'm amazed at how many amazing artists we've had. As part of Mentor, they also do their own fact sheet that they can use when they're going to meet with people to introduce their programs or to put on the web. So that's been just culturally making them feel they're part of the Mentor family. And then I mentioned to you before that we have a very active Mentor Women's Network. And this really happened because too often you hear women can't work in the field. Women can't be away for 3 months at a time. Women can. And it's like, yes, women can. And you're working with women who can. And so it kind of came about like very informally, but we know the need to share. And all mentor fellows, whenever they're at different international meetings, like get together and share. So this was just at the ICCB in Rwanda. And we're a family, a mentor family. Folks share videos when a new mentor program starts. Other people from the mentor program send videos welcoming them. So really having that family culture. And then this leads me into LEAP, which is a new initiative that I'm working on since leaving Fish and Wildlife. LEAP is Leadership for Africa's Parks. And it takes a lot of the lessons from the mentor program to do conservation leadership training, to mentor faculty, to develop collaboration and networks. And since many of our mentor fellows are now lecturers or adjuncts at different universities, and because the mentor program worked with so many different wildlife colleges in universities, we have created LEAP. So this is our new LEAP logo, and we are launching our new LEAP website next week. It's leapforparks.org. And so the idea of LEAP is to really strengthen protected area effectiveness, especially with 30 by 30. How are we making sure that these protected and conserved areas are well managed? And so the way that LEAP does this is by embedding leadership and professional skills into the curricula at these African wildlife colleges and universities that are part of LEAP. So the idea is that faculty become leaders on different conservation leadership skills. They design new curricula, and their administration have agreed to embed new courses. They've done their own training needs assessment, and they know that there is a need for conservation leadership training. This is Garoa Wildlife College in Cameroon. Oops. Oh no. Whoop. Do you guys see this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
what
see
have
this,
I?
so all undergraduates gain competencies.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, great. Yeah, and this is Rwanda Polytechnic Katabi College. So the idea is every student who goes to Katabi, every student who goes to Garowa, everyone majoring in wildlife management in the different LEAP universities will gain these skills. And so the idea is to have senior African conservationists mentor the faculty to enhance their expertise. And then we're going to leap higher by expanding to more universities to become a Pan-African network and to have these faculty work together. And actually, in this photo, there's faculty from Rwanda Polytechnic Institute, there's in Rwanda, from Garoa Wildlife College, from University of Kisangani. So this idea of bringing faculty together and mentoring them. And the specific things, the specific gaps, things that we've learned from the mentor program, things that our partners have brought up are the need for specifically conservation leadership and professional skills, problem solving and critical thinking, conflict management. Anytime you work on conservation, there's always going to be conflict, and you need to learn to work as part of a team. So we can't just study wildlife management and then go get a job in a park, because once you get a job in a park, you're working as part of a team. You're working with the local communities. You need different skills. And so that's the idea behind LEAP. So unlike short courses, the idea for LEAP is to make sure that every graduate gets these skills as part of their accredited undergraduate program. And they're getting this through classroom learning. They're getting this through field-based learning. And this way, hundreds of students can gain these skills each year. What's exciting, especially about the wildlife colleges, is that every module is academic, and then you go to the field. So it's very field oriented to gain those skills. And then women's leadership. What we're planning on doing, so all of the four colleges I'll tell you more about, who are the co-founders of LEAP, have all put together lists of all their female students, all of their female lecturers. They've given a female lecturer to lead. And we're going to start a lecture series for all the women lecturers, all the women students, really talking about the challenges that women face. And then through Mentor, we have these like amazing women who are willing to come and to share their stories. And so super excited about this. I might be reaching out to many of you women in CLTN to ask that if you're willing to come and talk with the faculty and the students. But the idea is that it's networked across different universities. So our four co-founding partners are Garoa Wildlife College in Cameroon, Rwanda Polytechnic Katabi College in Rwanda, Njala University in Sierra Leone, and University of Kisangani. And they are amazing. They're amazing. They have been, we don't have any money, so they've just been like, spending all their money, like spending all their time in kind, coming to monthly meetings, crafting our mission and our vision, working on our website, putting forward, they're going to be paying for a lot of their faculty time. We do hope to raise money. If you have suggestions, really, really appreciate that. But they see the need, the gap, especially at the undergraduate level. And so they've just totally bought in and are wonderful. And they're excited about expanding the network once we get started, inviting other universities who they work with to join. And then this is actually a proven model. The colleges had identified, especially Garoa Wildlife College and Katabi, the need for training on human rights and conservation. And so they Fish and Wildlife was able to help provide support for them to have mentors who worked with the faculty. And now the faculty, especially Vincent Zolong from Garrow Wildlife College, is really well recognized as a leader on human rights and conservation. And they worked with many of your NGOs to create this MOOC that anyone can take. It's on the IUCN MOOC conservation website. But the most exciting thing is every student who graduates from Katabi College and every student from Garoa takes 2 courses on human rights and conservation. And they learn it academically and then they go to the field. So we know that this works, and we're going to do this on conservation leadership and other topics, hopefully in the future. So anyway, we have our university partners to get started. We have a proven model on mentoring faculty. And then LEAP can train hundreds of students a year. So we're so excited. We're leaping forward. And this is our new website. Our new website. We're going to launch it on Monday. I'm leaping with joy. I make too many leap jokes. We're leaping higher. We're leaping forward. If you have, we're trying to figure out leapfrog. We haven't gotten that one yet. But please check it out. Check it out. It's up. It's up now. But you'll be hearing from me on LinkedIn. And a lot of photographers gave us their amazing photos, and the colleges put in photos. So just super, super happy to share with you. So I will stop talking finally, and please let me know if you have any questions. And thank you so much for letting me share, because I love the mentor program, and I think it's a really interesting model because you can use it anyway. And I'd love to follow up with folks individually to share more. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. It's so exciting, your new website. And I know you wanted to share it with everyone for thoughts and ideas. Any questions for Nancy on all of that?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say congratulations to Nancy and thank you for just being the force that you are. And I was somewhat familiar with the mentor program, but this was a great reminder and just a tribute to your legacy and the legacy of your partners and all that you've done. Just really impressive. So I just want to say thank you and congratulations on this new chapter.
Thank you.
And the power bob is strong today, Nancy.
Thanks, Molly. I think we all agree. Any questions? We have about 15 minutes.
If there are no questions, I can bring up things that I think are very interesting, like co-design. I hear that a lot. How do you do co-design? And with the mentor program, really spent 6 months with the partners saying, what are the criteria for the countries we're going to work in? What are the criteria for the mentors? Because you can have technical mentors. You can just have mentors who are, have the heart of a capacity developer. Or you could have country mentors who have a lot of experience in those countries. So I think there are a lot of really interesting questions on the co-design process and really taking time to do it. I also mentioned that we had master's programs, and I didn't mention that it took a whole year before the mentor program to work with the Ministry of Education in Gabon to get that permission to have a mentor program as a master's degree. So there's a lot of things about mentoring that we've learned along the way. There are a lot of things about the team. I'm starting to see with the mentor program who's going to be the maverick, who's going to be the youngest person who they're going to make do all the work. You start to see patterns. So Kate has her hand up.
Yeah, Nancy, thank you. There's so much to digest in such a good way. So yeah, I'm thinking, and we'll be definitely following up. I'm sure hopefully you've been chatting with some of our teams. I know you have close relationships with them, but I'll follow up with a separate email. You were talking about code design, and then also earlier you were talking about OLO, and then NOLO and SOLO. Do you have any tips or lessons learned around, because right, I think we all can I think we all agree the selection process is so important, and any tidbits or what old NOLO or solo is.
Yes. So Laura Gruber's on the phone, I think.
Yes.
Laura, are you there? Laura came up with, I have to give her credit. She came up with NOLA. That's
Oh, Laura.
not open to learning and opportunities. And then Jessie from Liz Claiborne, she came up with solo. Like she said, in your career, sometimes you have to be open and to
Yeah.
learning and opportunities. Other times you actually have to say no. So that's NOLO and solo. But Olo, I with mentor, I've just been like, why did this work? Why? And sometimes things don't work. Why do they not work? And so I spent a lot of time really thinking about it. And then for me, I was like, it comes down to the openness. Because with mentor, we change the model every time. Sometimes it's full-time, sometimes part-time, sometimes virtual. We just did a virtual one. So that's where you have to be open, you have to be flexible, you have to be, and then especially with mentor, the whole idea was it was going to be an adaptive series to get those lessons. And with Fish and Wildlife, there are grants and there are cooperative agreements. And cooperative agreements mean that in the case of Fish and Wildlife, there's substantial involvement. So it meant that I was going to be there bugging them. I love to micromanage. I'm very open about that. So you have to be open. You have to be open to learning and opportunities. And then so with each of the mentor programs, I know some of you get thousands of applications. We would only get hundreds, and maybe 100. We didn't, because it was always like very species oriented, or we were looking for lawyers to work on, pangolin trafficking or something like that. So we'd never really get more than 100, but we would set up very big teams to review by country, or to review by like anthropologists, or review by that. And then we'd always interview. So really taking, like, we would take, a month of, many Fish and Wildlife people's time, or maybe we'd bring in people from other government agencies, and nationally at US Fish as well as internationally. And then, but our NGO partners would also be doing that as well. And then we'd compare. And then we decide, okay, we can only interview 20 for 10 spots. And everything about mentor is very small. I know a lot of you have very, very big programs, but this was always meant to be small transdisciplinary teams. So I'd love to talk to you more about Olo, Nolo, and Solo. Thank you, Laura, and Jessie. And but I just personally, I just feel like you have to be always willing to learn and be open and get different suggestions. And how are you going to tweak this and change it? And I don't know. Yeah.
Right. I feel like the
And
CLTN is a very OLO group of people, aren't we? So I love that. Yeah.
I use it for everything too. Like when my kids like don't want to, I'm like, why don't you take this class? And they're like, no. I'm like, have to be Olo. So I'm sure I'm going to start wearing shirts that say Olo, and they're going to wear shirts that say NOLO.
Well, Nancy, we already have a new program idea for you. It's called Text from Nancy. So we're going to have those t-shirts now made with Olo Solo. No, no. Doing it in Star
Thank
Wars
you.
voice.
Yes, more questions.
Yes, thank you, Nancy, for the presentation. And I have one question on you mentioned the involvement of the participants all along the process. And we know that it requires time, and they have also other activities. And I'm curious to know more about what make them like really participate that much in the program, and even after the program, and what are like the key lessons from that, because of their other activities. I'm sure because of their organization, their job, they have many things to do. But you seem to say that they were very involved in the activities, in the even the mentoring with others, and even after in the networking. So yes, I'm curious to have some other feedbacks on that.
Sure, sure. So U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service would put out notices of funding opportunities, requests for proposals. And so NGO partners, and either coming in with the university or we would help them find the university partners would get a grant. Or in this case, it was a cooperative agreement, meaning that Fish and Wildlife Service had substantial involvement. So people's time would be paid. So there would be full-time coordinators. So they didn't have that different things going on. We always paid our mentors, not, like it depended on the program, how much time that they were putting in, but they were committed. We spent a lot of time on selection, very clear. This is not just the 18 months. We're really looking, but we also had sometimes we had technical experts who would just come in and teach, like for environmental impact assessment. So that might not be long term in terms of how are you doing? I'm so proud of you, but might be when the fellows have a challenge, they can go back to them anytime in their career and say, I'm dealing with this issue. Do you have any advice? So I think it gets back to Olo and back to selection, really finding people like this is their passion. Like I personally feel like I have to send 3 messages a day to the mentor WhatsApp group to let them know about opportunities. My kids are like, it's a Sunday, leave them alone. And you cannot send that 4th message. But it's like that's you find people who that's what they want to do, that's what they love. For the fellows, they're paid. This is you're asking people to maybe leave their job or you're working with their employer to give them that 18 months to participate in the program. And the fact that they're earning a master's degree, a postgraduate diploma, or a certificate, most of the protected area authorities who we work with, they see this as training for their staff. So they're willing to let them go and participate in the mentor program. So a lot of it is built into the design that people are fully engaged. When they leave the mentor program, I think it has to do with that culture. We are a family. We're the mentor family. I'm bugging them every day, 3 times a day. We are a mentor family. And so it's part of that culture to stay in touch. So yeah, that's a really good question. It's really important, but you have to pay people for their time. And we were, when you have like $1 million program, even though that one was like 3 different countries, or you're recognizing people are putting their time into this. The fellows are, the mentors are, the universities have donated a lot of their time and but have also, the universities have not received as much as they could. That's something I'd love to see happen more, but they find benefit from participating. And so we've had wonderful, wonderful, wonderful partners. And people volunteer. That's like another big lesson. If you ask people to teach, we had with MentorBat 53 different lectures from people from 30 different organizations who are like the world's leading experts on bat conservation and One Health. People like to share, and so ask. I'm happy to give talks. Ask. And thank you to so many of your organizations have been critical to the mentor program. Just folks have volunteered their time for long periods of time teaching the fellows or having the fellows go to field sites where you work, national parks where you working, and the governments have been amazing. So when fellows get certificates from Garoa Wildlife College, it says the Republic of Cameroon, the Ministry of Wildlife and Protected Areas gives you this certificate. So the governments have been amazing partners, and with the mentor programs, really have worked with the governments, letting them, know about the program, having folks working for their protected areas participating. So collaboration is great to talk about. It's hard. It takes time. That's why everybody has to be Olo. I won't stop. I'm sorry. You haven't even heard my leap jokes. So.
Well, Nancy, that actually sounds like the perfect place to stop. very inspirational. And yeah, so yeah, I think if everyone's happy and has asked all the questions they need, then I'll wrap up now this session. Huge thank you to Nancy for just your energy and being so great and showing us the mentor program. Can't wait to see what Leap is doing and working with you on that. And yeah, best of luck with that. Thank you to all of you for your time and energy. Just to remind you, we have the working groups meeting on the 11th of February at 5 p.m. UK time. So please come to that, because there'll be opportunities to think about how we might have working groups for our alumni networks, bringing in the mentors into that, supporting us in our efforts to help our alumni, as well as all the other opportunities we have with the working groups we've got going at the moment. So yeah, please do come. Thank you to all, and I look forward to seeing you all next month. Great. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Nancy. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.